I am John Zappa, and I had Google Mail and Wikipedia as my topic. Okay, Google Books. Over the last 4 years, Google has been digitizing millions of books. Many of these books are covered by copyright and are from the collections of major research libraries. Authors and publishers sued Google because they believed that this digitalizing constituted a violation of their copyrights. As a result, a lengthy, complex settlement was reached. Now, the big question, what will be the future of Google Books? There are two sides to copyright. Free to the public, which means the public gets everything, and giving the author a fair return to their intellectual labor, meaning where do you draw the line? Do they get this amount of money for writing the book, or do we just get it because they did it? So you got to find the line on how both sides can be satisfied. Okay, a look at the past. The Americans favored the British on copyright and felt 28 years was long enough to protect the interests of the authors and publishers. They felt beyond this limit, the interests of the public should prevail. So in 1790, the first Copyright Act was passed that put a 14-year limit renewable for another 14 years. How long does copyright extend today? So, according to the Sani-Bono Copyright Term Extension Act of 1998, it lasts as long as the author's life plus 70 years. This act is also known as the Mickey Mouse Protection Act because Mickey was about to fall into the public domain. So basically, Mickey Mouse, huge brand name, they don't want it to get into public access, so anyone can just, if I wanted to start a business, I could just post Mickey on my business, and then I could just take it for nothing. It'd be free. So when it comes to digitization, it says the cultural heritage, the date generally ends on January 1st, 1923. This is a date from which a great number of books are subject to copyright laws. Alright, and this is where Google comes in. If there's a private interest that can take over digitizing and package it for consumers, Google, then again, what will be the fate of books if Google does this? They could take books, digitize everything, and then package it so anyone can get on the net and look for books. So what will happen to books then if that happens? Well, De Palma explained it could be similar to what happened to the professional journals, but with even worse consequences. Now here is a look of what happened to professional journals. So learned societies produce articles, and then libraries would buy them into journals. So say, for instance, a scientist would write a piece for a journal to advance his career. That's my next topic. Professors write articles for the journal. They do this to spread their knowledge for the topic and to advance their careers. So commercial publishers saw this, and they would take these articles and put them into journals and then sell them. Now, what's the problem with this? Professors are working for nothing. They're not getting paid for their work. So these commercial publishing companies controlled the market. They could fluctuate the prices on the different journal subscriptions. So let's say a lot of people were buying the Scientist Journal and a couple issues were sold for this much, then let's just bump that price up, and then that would affect other journals that were selling at a lower price. So they controlled the market of journals. And keep in mind, the professors were making no money. So yeah, whatever prices they deemed is what they would ask, which does not sound fair. They had all control. So, Google versus the library. Google is a business looking to make money. When they look at libraries, they see potential assets or loads of content ready to be mined. Library collections can be digitized with little cost or far less money than all the money and time that went into constructing it. So just think about it, this big construction of books. How much time and effort went into writing them and putting it on a collection? With Google, they can just digitize it, hit a couple buttons, and save it to a USB drive. Now, where a library side is libraries exist to promote the public good and encourage learning and free to all. So you have Google, they want to make money off books, and libraries just want to promote public knowledge to everyone and just want you to be able to just rent and check out books. The potential problem is a digitized collection may be sold in a way that will not guarantee wide access. In a sense, Google could turn the internet into a tool for privating knowledge that should belong to the public sphere. Now, let's take a minute to think about that. A digitized collection may be sold in a way that will not guarantee wide access. That means if you're from a poor family and don't have internet access, you may not be able to access all the books that Google has to offer, and they control that. So the Google could turn the internet into a tool that takes private knowledge that should be, like, such as a book, that should be open to everyone, but makes it extremely private and to only those who can have internet access because they control it. So this is the settlement that happened when Google took and digitized all these books. It created an enterprise known as the Books Rights Registry. The Books Rights Registry represents the interests of all the copyright holders. How this process works. Well, Google will sell access to a gigantic databank composed primarily of copyrighted, out-of-print books digested from research libraries. Colleges, universities, and other organizations will be able to subscribe by paying an institutional license providing access to the databank. This license will make the material available to public libraries, where Google will provide free viewing of digital books on one computer terminal. Individuals will then be able to access and print out digitized versions by purchasing a consumer license from Google, which will cooperate with the registry for the distributions of all revenue to the copyright holders. Google will retain 37% and the registry will distribute the remaining 63% among the rights holders. Digitized books. As of 2008, Google had 7 million books available for user download. 1 million are works in the public domain. 1 million are in copyright and in print. 5 million are in copyright but out of print. This last category will finish the bulk of the books to be made available that the institutional license covers. What would this give us? The world's largest library. Just think of all these books digitized by Google at your disposal. In a sense, it would be the world's largest library. It would make even the Library of Congress seem minuscule. Sorry. It could potentially put Amazon out of business. Just think about Amazon and how they operate. Who wants to get on the internet and try to buy a book and order it when they could just get it in one click right to their computer in front of them? Google has the power. This settlement gives Google control of virtually all books covered by copyright in the United States to be digitized. They have the power. Better yet, only Google will be protected from the copyright liability. Here are some questions to think about with Google having all this power. What if the owners sell the company? What happens if the current leaders retire? Will this affect the price of the institutional subscription license? Think about that. If it's a new greedy owner, then he might jack up the price if he wants to. And these are just unanswered questions to think about that we need to prepare for. What will happen if Google favors profiting over public access? So just think. If they want to profit off books that should be public access, they can. And they can make the price whatever they want. So my main point is if we get the balance wrong at this moment, right now, private interests may outweigh public good for the foreseeable future. Meaning, Google's private interests will outweigh the public good of having an ample amount of source of books that should be ample to the public under Google's control. So that's what we need to think about. Google will control books altogether. And we need to think about this and maybe fight against it. So Google doesn't have so much power. Because if they have all that power, then there's no telling what they can do with it. So my next topic is archiving writers' work in the age of email. There's 3 major points. These trappings of digital age will transform the way libraries preserve and exhibit literary collections. Just think about libraries today. They get journals or a diary or something from a scholar or author, but think about in the future when they can get laptops or tape recordings or flash drives. This could tell us a lot more information, and universities are going to have to spend money on the new equipment and training for this archivist. For example, say a new old